Okay, so I'm live. Just get my hair straightened out here. Okay. So there's nobody on yet. It is 12:58 in the morning here. I'm gonna be going to bed about 1:30. So we're having about a 30-minute stream. I'm just kind of testing this. Just to kind of test some things out. And we'll go from there. Okay, let's see here. Okay, this is my first time sharing the screen. Wow, that's lagging a lot. Okay, so we're just gonna do this here. Okay. So, to explain what's okay, what exactly I mean by the title for this video. Now I'm gonna make a lot more like this, going over relatively the same stuff, just from different aspects and just the general different aspects that are commonly used. So before we get to that, I'm just going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen here. And we'll get back to that in a minute. So, what do I mean by the title? Okay. It's honestly just simply put. Okay. The title is very self explanatory. When I was about 14 or 15, I was in Louisiana. We were moving and had to go back to New Mexico to help my sister and Nana move to Florida because that's where we were going to move next, and we were going to actually have something stable here in Florida. No, wait. I was going to help my Nana move to Florida, and I was going to move back to Alabama because that's where we were at, was Alabama. But my Nana wanted something in Florida. So she was going to drop me off in Alabama before heading to Florida. And that time I spent with her, it was actually 6 months. It was supposed to only be 2 months. Originally, it was supposed to be 2 months. And I was helping pack stuff up. It was me, my sister, and my Nana. At night, I had a lot of free time to myself. I hadn't really been infatuated with the superhero movies. In fact, I thought they were kind of dumb. Anybody could do those stunts, anybody could act, anybody could, Um, there were a few of them that I was actually into. I also read books and I did other things and I watched other movies, etc. Well, at the time, there were very few characters that were capable of telekinesis and telepathy. Um, I sat one night and I told myself, sure, those may not be real, but if they were, leave it up to my life to all the wrong people having those abilities. And then I remembered there were different universes, scientifically proven different universes. And from there, it just took off. Um, and I told myself, I said, if I ever had those powers, if I ever had any of those abilities, that I would truly use it for good, unlike a normal person who would get those abilities, who would get those powers. I would use them accordingly. Hold on, sorry, my son is awake. He probably just needs a diaper change. I'll be back. Okay, sorry about that. I ended up having to go to the bathroom too. Um, so I told myself, I said, it's cold here. I said, if I ever got any of those powers, even the simplest power of telepathy or telekinesis, um, I'd use it accordingly. I would follow the rules. I wouldn't tell anyone I had it. I was young. I was naive in thinking that I couldn't tell anybody anything, and so it wasn't a problem for me. Um, it wasn't until I got older that I realized that in very rare cases, very minuscule cases, if I did have those powers, I would have to tell somebody in case something actually did happen to me that was irreversible. Just because of how I was raised, I knew that I always need to tell somebody something in case something happened to me that was irreversible. I encountered something that night that I said that I opened my mind. It spoke to me and it said, if I really wanted something like that, I would need to unlock my mind. If I really needed something like that, I would need to unlock my mind. And so I thought about it. Why would I need something like that? I said. Honestly, why would anybody need anything like that? That tooth always been longer? Then that's weird. As far as I knew, they were always even. That's, that's weird. Maybe it's just the camera. Anyway, um, so I said, I asked, why would I honestly need anything like that though? And it answered back, well, for the very purpose you said you would use it for, to truly help people. And to actually use it for the purpose of bettering not only the world that you live in, but existence. And I agreed. At that moment in time, I agreed with it. And I still don't know if I truly do or not agree. But at that time, I did. As Shalina Aaron Lawless, I agreed that if I ever had those powers, if I ever needed those powers, I would obtain them because the world was truly in danger. My existence was truly on the verge of collapsing. It's not my proudest moment. I wish every day I could take back that night. I reached out to something that should have stayed in the dark, something that is a far formidable foe than anybody could ever imagine. Something that could truly end existence as we know it. And I agreed with it. That if I ever needed those powers, it would be to save existence. Some may chalk it up as the imagination of a little girl. The so far fetched imagination that could become a book, a story. It couldn't be real. There's no possible way. I thought that for the longest time. So, and so I jokingly, after that, I jokingly said, well, if, if I had telekinesis or telepathy, I would be able to lift a single small piece of paper, a little piece of part of a band-aid. It wasn't this, it was those little white pieces, the strips that you take off of the band-aid after opening it. Much lighter, much this small, feather like. And I put it on my hand like this. Put it on my hand like this, or it was on the palm of my hand. And I sat and I concentrated. It probably would be better on my right hand. I stuck it all the way out to where there was just a little bit of slack on my elbow and kind of inwards. All the way out. You can't really see it on this camera. This camera sucks. I held it on my hand. Let's see if I could do it. this. Maybe. That might work. Okay. Held it like this. And I concentrated really, really hard. And I said, it's really small, feather-like. If you really had telekinesis or telepathy, you would be able to lift it off of your hand with no problem, slowly removing the atoms apart from the paper and your hand, and you would be able to lift it up with no problem at all by removing those atoms from each other. And I felt a tingling in my hand, almost a burning sensation. Like I was lifting a dumbbell, like 100 pounds is what it felt like in my hand. And it was just such a small, itty bitty piece of paper. And I said, push it against your hand, push the atoms apart, and push them against gravity. And of course, nothing happened. But what I saw that night, the edges curled up, not down, but up of the pieces of that paper. It didn't float off of my hand. It didn't fly away or cross the room or anything like that. And that's why I say nothing happened. But it's glitching. my computer's glitching. That's why nothing eventful happened. That's why I say nothing. Um, but the edges of that piece of paper curled upwards. Now, to this day, I still can't explain it. I don't know if it reacts to heat. I don't know if it reacted to my sweat or what. And for some reason, I've looked it up many a time since, the difference between telekinesis and telepathy, and I still can't remember the difference. Which I knew before that night. I knew the difference. And that's all I remember, is that I knew the difference. I knew it by heart, the difference. And after that night, it's the only thing that I can't truly remember clearly. If I don't remember something clearly, I can always correct myself. I can always go back and be like, oh, well, which also was somewhat how I was, but not completely. I was always solid. I always knew what I was talking about, or else I wouldn't talk. And now it's like I know full heartedly what I'm talking about, but I'll forget bits of it. And I'll go back and I'll correct myself. Or somebody chimes in and gives information that is either relevant but isn't appropriate for that matter, or it just, for example, when I come up with a solution to something, I have looked at minimum 10 possible different variants of that situation and come up with the quickest, safest, and most efficient way of solving that problem. But now I second guess myself. after that night, I would go back and correct myself and say, oh, I didn't mean purple, I meant blue, or but I really meant purple, just not the shade of purple you thought I meant, or, it just, nothing was normal after that. Some may chalk it up as, oh, hormones, or, whatever. Well, I've been able to recognize my hormones whenever I get a set of new hormones or a sudden burst of them or whatever. I was always able to do that um, long before that night. And it just didn't feel like that. It was a clear voice I was talking to that night. And my sister was asleep. My Nana was asleep. Everybody was asleep. It was 1 o'clock in the morning, like it is now. Well, 1:31. Now it is 1:31. Then it was, 1 o'clock in the morning. Whatever. I stayed up late. I got up about 7 or 8 o'clock, and I would clean the designated room. I had a room that I was supposed to clean. My sister had a room that she was supposed to clean and pack up. And then there's the middle room that we were going to do together. And my Nana was in charge of the living room because it was uh, the least amount of a mess. And she was in charge of the kitchen because it was also the least amount of a mess. Both of them combined was one room together. And so that's why she was in charge of them. And then when it came time for moving, my sister and I would load up the big furniture or whatever furniture they were going to take with them. Um, so it was just me this late at night, like it is now. Well, except for the chickens over there in their container in the corner, and my son in there sleeping in the room, 10-month-old baby. Um, so, oh, the chickens are chicks, they're babies also. So, it was really just me. Nothing to do. That night, all my books were read. I had no books to read. We couldn't watch TV in the living room after like 11 o'clock, 11:30. So Well, because the house pretty good, echoed pretty good, and it would wake everybody up if we watched TV. My nana slept in a camper with Mr. John, my step grandpa, um, in the backyard. It was their own camper. It was his backyard and all that. Um, so she wasn't anywhere in the house, and I knew they were asleep. I was the youngest. I was up all the time. The only things to do there in Roswell were go to a restaurant, which there were very few of, go to church, join a gang, maybe go to a park, which there was the Peppermint Park, or go to school. 5 things. There was no strip clubs. There were no bars. There's nothing like that out there. It was a desert. We were small, but we weren't a one horse town. You could start driving at one end of the town and not reach the other end of the town until the middle of the next day. So we were pretty decent sized. And I say that because at one point I lived in a little place called Conway, Oklahoma, where you could start walking at 6 o'clock in the morning at one end of town, and by 6 o'clock at night, be at the other end of town. Walking. Okay? Yeah. Driving from one end of town to the other was like an hour or less. People hardly drove there in Conway. Um, so it was a small town, but it was decent size. I can't remember the population. I was raised there for 13 years and I was a teenager. I didn't care. I didn't care what was going on. I was going to school. I was going to church when I was younger. Or Peter Piper Pizza. That was the place to be. Um, literally like the only actual pizza cafe or pizza joint where that was family friendly. We didn't have Chuck E. Cheese. We had Peter Piper Pizza, and honestly, it is better than Chuck E. Cheese's. Okay, they had some real good games there, some really good ass games. Um, and I ain't found any other games like that anywhere else. Like it, and at the time I thought, oh well, these games are everywhere. Uh, Especially when they put the new game in of um uh what was it? think it was called like Take It or Leave It or something like that. You had to choose the case with the amount of tickets in it, or whatever. And it was off based off that one game show where, yeah, I think it was called Take It or Leave It. I honestly think that's what it was called, Take It or Leave It, where they had like 20 different girls up there with cases, and you got like 5 picks or something like that. And at the end of each one, they would say, okay, do you want to take it, or take this plus all the tickets you've already got, or go on to the next one and try the next one. Um, so, and then when they put that in, I thought, oh, well, yeah, they definitely got everything from around the world here. They didn't. um, the places I've been to after that didn't have the Price is Right um, game. Oh, that was my game. That was my game. One year I got, um, I won the jackpot twice. And then a few years after that, uh, because there was a 2-player mode, and um, the bitch stole my jackpot. She stole my fucking jackpot, and it was about to be mine because it was gonna be my turn, but then she got a double spin and then hit the jackpot, and I was like, damn. Um, sorry, I've ranted. I get homesick every now and again. Um, the point of the story is that's where I was that night, was in Roswell when that happened. Um, Now, whether I actually did move that piece of paper with my mind or not, I don't think I'll ever know the answer to that. I really don't think I'll ever know. But I hope to one day to be able to find out. And that was the beginning of my journey in finding the creator of all upon existence. It took many years, a lot of effort, a lot of hardship. At first, I thought it was God, the Holy Lord, but it wasn't. And so I thought, oh, well, maybe it's the devil, Satan, Lucifer. It wasn't either. It wasn't it either. And so I asked myself, if it's neither one, if it's not God nor the devil, what is it? So I thought, Jesus. Well, no, it wasn't that either. The feeling, the connection was deeper than any entity I had ever known. And for the longest time, I never had a name. I never knew what it was for 10, 20 years. About 20 years. I knew nothing of what it really was, who it really was, or why it was talking to me. So one day I said, I'm gonna find out. I gotta go. I'm sorry, that's my time anyway. Um, Thank y'all for watching. Have a safe day, night, wherever you're at. And bye for now.